Millions of years before Genghis Khan was populating 0.5% of today's population, Mongolia was a strange place. Mongolia during the late Cretaceous period was home to roided-up ducks. Well, not actually. Introducing Deinocheirus. It's not a duck. It just looks like a duck that can mess you up. Today I'd like to talk about why Deinocheirus is an underrated dinosaur that has been lost to time. Also, I think Mongolian throat singing would be pretty fitting for the intro of this episode. I know, it's so tragic. It's like how in Captain America Brave New World, they changed the Marvel intro. I promise in the next video, we'll be returning to the normal intro. So long as the next dinosaur I talk about isn't from Norway or something, because then I'd have to use Norwegian black metal. Anyways, welcome back to Dinosaurs Lost to Time, the series where I discuss underrated dinosaurs who are overlooked by the likes of Velociraptor and T-Rex. Today we're going to be focusing on Deinocheirus and a few other dinosaurs later in the video. This is the first episode where I'm diving into unknown territory. This was a dinosaur that was suggested by you guys, and I'm also going to be mentioning some other ones that were suggested by you guys, such as Mirificus. And prior to this video, I didn't know much about Deinocheirus. So if I happen to get some facts wrong about it, please let me know in the comment section down below. You know, normally I'm a wildlife guy. Like, this is Trico, my leopard gecko. Look at him. Look at this creature. So yeah, I've been using this series as a means to learn about obscure dinosaurs, so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. With that said, I am destined to make some mistakes when talking about some of the more obscure ones. So please correct me if I get anything wrong. As per usual, if there are any dinosaurs you'd like to see me talk about next, comment down below. And with all of that yapping out of the way, let's talk about the prehistoric duck on steroids, Deinocheirus. So yes, surface level, Deinocheirus appears to be, you know, a giant mutated duck. And when it was added to Jurassic World Evolution 2, that's really all I thought of it, I'm not gonna lie. Oh.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my...
I also remember it appearing in Prehistoric Planet. All I remember it doing is shitting itself. So, point being, this is a creature that I really didn't think much of until making this video. So thanks to you guys for suggesting it, because I really didn't know much about it, and now I know more. Besides its very peculiar physicality, I thought it was, you know, But I will tell you, Deinocheirus has a very unique story to tell, starting with its discovery. The first known fossil remains of Deinocheirus were discovered in 1965, and that first specimen was, well, it was basically just two arms. Like that. Wow. You didn't see that? That's... holy shit, that's so cool. Okay, well, so because when it was first discovered, all they discovered were these, you know, two arms, it was given the name Horrible Hand in Greek, or Deinocheirus. But I'm sure if they discovered Deinocheirus in full, like in the first place, I'm sure it would have ended up with a very different name. Or maybe not. Maybe they still would have looked at the hands and been like, oh, you know, those are some horrible hands you got there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. And since the first specimen was only two horrible hands, if you look at old paleo art of Deinocheirus, it looks completely different different from how it does today. Before more complete fossils were discovered, Deinocheirus was often depicted as a generic carnivorous theropod, which is crazy when you compare it to modern-day depictions. The second specimen of Deinocheirus that was discovered was damaged by fossil poachers, which I didn't even know that fossil poachers were a thing up until now. I mean, how do you poach something that's already dead? Explain that, please. The poachers took the skull, hands, and feet and left a singular toe bone. So someone really didn't want us to know what a Deinocheirus skull looked like. And also that means that at this point, the second specimen was classified by a singular toe bone. Well, you know, not really. That's kind of an exaggeration, but that's what I'd like to think. I find it funnier if it was just a toe bone. There were other identifying features that were left behind by the poachers that indicated that it was a Deinocheirus. But here's where shit gets crazy. Epic explosions. Come on. After the first two specimens were announced, it was rumored that a Deinocheirus skull had made its way to a European museum through the black market. It wasn't only the skull, there was also feet and the left hand. And these fossils were confirmed to be that of the second specimen, as the single leftover toe bone fit perfectly into that of one of the feet. So yeah, eventually we started to get an idea as to what Deinocheirus actually looked like. Big day. The paleontologists had finally gotten their hands on a Deinocheirus skull. But this story of how Deinocheirus came to be, kind of the evolution of how we perceived the animal, kind of reminds me of the story of Spinosaurus, which is a much more popular dinosaur. The first Spinosaurus remains gave very little insight as to what the dinosaur actually looked like. The remains were fragmentary. The only major characteristic that made it stand out from other theropods when it was discovered was its sail. Of course, at this point, they hadn't discovered all of the skull yet, just the bottom jaw, and like I said, the remains were fragmentary, so they had very little idea of what this animal actually looked like. So when it was first discovered, it was often depicted as essentially just a T-Rex with a sail on its back. And fast forward to today, Spinosaurus is a completely different creature. Very similar story to Deinocheirus. Shows how we're always discovering new things about these animals. And also, ironically, both Spinosaurus and Deinocheirus, they both have sail-like structures. The function of Deinocheirus's sail isn't exactly known, but it could have been used for fat storage or thermoregulation. Deinocheirus is a theropod dinosaur, more specifically an ornithomimosaur. Although originally Deinocheirus was placed into the theropod dinosaur group of Carnosauria due to the fragmentary fossils. I don't blame the paleontologists because, you know, they just discovered these menacing-ass arms. I would have probably guessed that they came from, like, some terrifying giant carnivore, too. Like, no one could have guessed that this thing had the least menacing face possible. As more complete remains were discovered, paleontologists looked at Deinocheirus and were like, huh, you know, this thing doesn't look anything like a terrifying flesh-eating monster. So they placed it into the clade of Ornithomimosauria. Ornithomimosaurs were fast, ostrich-like theropod dinosaurs with long legs, toothless beaks, and often feathered bodies. They were adapted for running and omnivorous or herbivorous diets. Although Deinocheirus was a fat ass, so it probably wasn't running around through open plains like its cousin, the Gallimimus. Rather, it likely waded through shallow water foraging for food. The first Deinocheirus I talked about earlier was discovered in the Nemegt Formation in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia. The Nemegt Formation is extremely diverse and dates back to the late Cretaceous period, roughly 70 million years ago. There is only one species of Deinocheirus that has been discovered, Deinocheirus mirificus. The species name mirificus means peculiar or unusual. And yeah, it sure as hell is unusual. I mean, look at the fucking thing. It's the largest ornithomimosaur at 11 meters long, or for my fellow Americans, that's 216 Big Macs long. And it weighed roughly 7 tons. Despite its bulk, it had many hollow bones to reduce weight. Its arms were among the largest of any bipedal dinosaur, with 3-fingered hands and blunt claws. It had relatively short legs and a sail-like structure formed by tall neural spines. But I mean, you're looking at it right now, and I mean, just look at it. Just keep looking at it. Look how strange this creature is. I don't gotta keep nitpicking it. Look at it.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at it!
It just looks weird. Many vertebrae and other bones were air-filled, which helped to reduce weight. Its tail ended in pygostyle-like vertebrae. Pygostyle. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna put a little blurb on screen. There you go. Now you know. But that basically suggested that Deinocheirus had a tail fan, or a feathered tail fan. A feathered fan on its tail. The 3-foot skull had a bill resembling that of hadrosaurs, or, you know, a duck. A duck? Like the title and like the whole like premise of this video. Deinocheirus's beak is actually similar to that of ducks. And this indicates that similar to a duck, Deinocheirus may have foraged in the water. So boom. My comparison between Deinocheirus and a duck is based on scientific fact. And what are my sources? Go fuck yourself. Along with having this beak that was similar to that of a duck, its long arms and claws would have helped it to, you know, rake up some vegetation from the bottom of lake beds and ponds and eat it. I keep comparing Deinocheirus to a duck, but honestly, it's kinda like a platypus of dinosaurs, because it's just so weird, you know? It's just another animal where evolution was like, fuck it. And evolution really did say fuck it, because Deinocheirus's brain was reconstructed via CT scans, and it was found that it had a small brain. So Deinocheirus is canonically stupid. More than 1,400 gastroliths were found among the ribs of the specimen that was violated by poachers. 1,400. 1,400! If you don't know, gastroliths are rocks that animals eat so it can help them grind up and digest food. So this motherfucker ate 1,400 rocks. Yeah, he's fucking stupid. I'm just kidding, obviously. So this was a big brain move because it was actually helping him digest his food. So big win for Deinocheirus here. Deinocheirus. I keep saying Deinocheirus. And something that's also cool is that Deinocheirus was thought to not strictly be a vegetarian. The presence of fish vertebrae and scales was found among the gastroliths, which suggests that it was an omnivore. Although the presence of a beak and the shape of Deinocheirus's jaw are indicators that Deinocheirus may have instead been a facultative herbivore, which essentially means that Deinocheirus would primarily feed on vegetation, but if given the opportunity, it wouldn't turn down a nice plate of fish and chips. Alright, so now that you've gotten to know Deinocheirus, now that you've gotten to know the guy, it's about time that he invites you over to his house, but not like in a creepy way or anything, you know, just like a cool guy who wants to show off their Bionicle collection. So let's circle back to the Namek Formation in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia. As I said, this formation was extremely rich in biodiversity and dates all the way back to the late Cretaceous, roughly 70 million years ago. When we look at the Namek Formation today, as I said, it's a part of the Gobi Desert, which is, you know, a desert. So as you'd assume, it's barren and not a lot of water. But during the late Cretaceous period, the Namek Formation had lakes, streams, and floodplains. This environment would have been perfect for Deinocheirus, who, as I said, was thought to have foraged in water. During the late Cretaceous period, the formation was thought to also have some degree of forest cover. This is due to fossilized tree trunks, petrified wood, and the remains of conifers being found within the formation. Besides very diverse flora, the formation was also home to all sorts of different fauna. Fish, turtles, amphibians, troodontids, sauropods, and hadrosaurs. But there are a few creatures in particular that I feel like are worth a mention. The Namek Formation was home to the iconic Gallimimus, a fellow ornithomimosaur to Deinocheirus. Tarkia, a very cool ankylosaur that is so precious looking. Look at this creature. And like Deinocheirus, it appears in Prehistoric Planet. Homalocephalae, a small, adorable pachycephalosaurid, who many of you may recognize from Jurassic Park Operation Genesis or Jurassic World Evolution. The tickle chicken, Therizinosaurus.
That's a tickle chicken!
Oh my god! Oh! T-Rex's smaller and less popular cousin, Tarbosaurus, Paralligator. I just thought the name sounded cool. I don't know much about it. I just wanted to throw it in there. So, it was a crocodilomorph, so there's a fact about it. And lastly, Mononychus, which also made an appearance in Prehistoric Planet. Which Mononychus is another underrated dinosaur suggestion from you guys. This person, there's somewhere around here. Toast Me Malone 2242. They suggested Mononychus. So this works out perfectly. I can kill two birds with one stone. So the reason that Toast Me Malone 2242 is referring to Mononychus as the nipple finger dinosaur, which I've never heard that before. But yeah, the reason they're referring to Mononychus as the nipple finger dinosaur is because Mononychus had one claw on each hand. So I guess, like, if you look at it and you squint, it could kind of look like really long nipples hanging from its... The name Mononychus means one claw, and it was thought to use its specialized claws to forage termite mounds or other insect colonies to eat. And you actually see it doing this in Prehistoric Planet. It was a small theropod dinosaur, and yeah, that's about all there is to it. Yep. I definitely could not make a 10-minute long video on Mononychus, so... there you go. Mononychus. Boom. Well, there it is. You know, I got sidetracked there for a moment. So let that not distract you from the whole message of this video. In this video, we delved into prehistoric Mongolia, where ducks were on steroids. Although I find Deinocheirus to be quite strange, it is still a dinosaur that I believe is underrated and lost to time. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider checking me out over on Patreon and, you know, blah blah blah, other stuff, like, subscribe, whatever. Alright, fuck off.